Hello and welcome to David Photography Show. Now, on today's episode, we're going to have a look at how you should get started when you just get your camera and you want to take some pictures. So, let's roll the intro and get started. Now, once you get your camera, it can be anything at all. You don't want to make your shots uncomfortable and uneasy. So you don't want to just take your camera and go straight out and go to a paid event where you've spent money and take pictures, because you will have no settings and no idea on how the camera works. So there's a number of stages that you should go through to get yourself that you're comfortable with the camera and being out and taking pictures anywhere. So stage one, you just get the camera, and the first thing you should do is try it at home. Either take pictures indoors or go outside, go into your garden where it's quiet and there's nobody around, and just take as many pictures as you like. In this way you can get used to the controls of the camera in the privacy and not being conscious that people are taking any notice of you. Once you've done as many pictures as you like, it doesn't say you have to keep any of them, but then you move on to a stage two. Find a location anywhere near where you live where other people go to take pictures. Now, my choice when I first started was to take the camera down the quay on a Sunday. Now, you've seen the street photography one that I did recently. Well, I wouldn't do that type of photography right at the start. I wouldn't have thought about doing that because I felt a bit nervous, a bit cautious of what people might say if I was doing that type of thing. So I stick to exactly the same things and took pictures that mostly everybody else took. But the thing comes is that I didn't stand out, because other people were there with their cameras taking pictures of the things, whatever it was, the bridge, whatever, makes no difference. I was just one of the group, and in that way you don't stand out, so therefore you can feel a bit more comfortable. It doesn't matter if you took your time to take the picture. Most people who have took their picture will have walked on. You're not having people stand and technically watching you the whole of the time, from the time you start to take the picture until you've took it. So therefore no one cared. So from this position of you being used to being out with people around who aren't stopping and talking to you and asking what you're doing because there's loads of other people doing exactly the same thing, then you should feel a bit more comfortable. Now comes the difficult stage 3. Using your camera when you are the only person who is there taking pictures. Now you stand out. If you go to a place where you are the only person with a camera and you're setting up and you've put a tripod out and you're setting up your picture, then you stand out. Then you might have people who stop and watch. And I had this. I physically had someone, when I was setting up a picture to take, this couple come and stood beside us. I took my picture. Didn't think anything about them, but I knew they were there. And I moved a little bit further back down the bank where I was standing to take another picture further on. And this couple, one of them got their mobile phone out, went to the precise position that I had the camera at, and took a picture on their phone. And I'm going, I'm being followed now. People are copying what pictures I'm taking now. But there you go. You can't get hassled because someone's there. If you're taking a picture, you get on with it and you do it as quickly as you can. Especially if you're blocking a pathway where you're standing. Either just let them go past and then continue. But quite a few people will just stand and wait. Have you ever seen it? You've been at a place, you see someone with a camera and you have to walk in front of them and you stop and you wait for them until they've took the picture. Well, this also happens if they're even wanting to go behind you, not wanting to knock you or do anything. So you have to be used to that type of stuff. Now, when you first go out and when you first do your first bits of photography with your camera for the first time, the thing comes is that the settings are confusing. Why not just say that? They're complicated. A camera is a piece of equipment with a lot of functions that in most cases you will never use most of them. If you look at all the menus and count how many there is, I think there's one camera that has 150 things you can change. The thing comes is that you're probably not going to change these. There's going to be a few settings that you will simply just get used to using. There's a few things that you will say, well, I don't need that. It's a bit like having a tablet. And I'm talking about a tablet for putting games on. Your tablet can do many things. It can play games, it can play music, you can download books and read books on it, you can use it to take pictures and take movies. But in most cases, when you give it to your child to play with, they'll play games, and that is all they'll do. The camera is the same. It has lots of features which, if you let it, will get you really confused. Find the simplest settings and go from there. Now, many people say that you don't want to use the camera in full automatic, which means that it makes the decisions for everything and will get you the best picture that it thinks it can get. Now, if you're just starting, there's no reason not to learn from the settings the camera picks for the picture it has taken, if you take notice of them. If you take notice that a camera has picked a certain speed, certain ISO and whatever, if you take notice of these for what you're taking, what you can do is you can change it. Take one picture in full auto, have a look at the settings, then put them settings in either shutter priority or AV mode or any of those ones where you still let the camera do something. Then change one of the settings. Doesn't matter really which one it is, but change one of them and then take a picture. See the difference between what the camera says and what you say. Now, there may be no difference at all. Sometimes certain differences and certain changes to your settings will still give you the picture that you think you should get. Sometimes it doesn't. And this is how you have to learn. If you don't try these things out, you don't learn. You don't work out that maybe I shouldn't use that shutter speed because I'm hand holding it and the picture will be blurred. You won't work out that when you look at a scene of maybe taking a plant underneath a tree, it's rather dark there. Either I'm going to have a very high ISO and make the shutter speed really slow so it can take in more light, then it's much harder if you haven't practiced for you to see these things. So it comes down to being it simple to start with. If you need to use auto, but learn from the auto how it has picked what it has picked, and see if I change this and this, will I get a similar picture? From there, go to the AV or shutter priority so you can pick everything and it will pick the shutter speed to give you the picture. Now, after that, you then got manual, where you have to put everything in. But if you start with some simple rules of running that, I want a good picture, I'm going to have a low ISO. Nearly everyone wants to have a low ISO, and 100 or 200 are the best. Take it, they're low numbers. The more you make them higher, the worse the picture will get because it will have more noise in it. So therefore you don't really want it high. And the times that you will only get it high in them high numbers is when you're in a dark location. But it also is down to the camera age and how well the camera will deal with higher ISO numbers and not having the noise. Newer cameras deal with this much easier. They've got better processing ability within the camera to take away that noise. So therefore, it's still best to have low. If you're hand holding the camera, then you can't really go past 1/60th in slowness, which means that you can't keep the shutter open for longer than 1/60th of a second because your hands will shake. It doesn't matter how steady you are or how steady you think you are, you will move. Even if it's just a fraction, even if you don't realise you've done it, you will move. The only ways you can get around this is more like having a camera which has axis stabilisation in. Now, the Olympus has that, so you can do a much lower amount and still keep the frame where it's supposed to be. Haven't tried that out yet, so it's something to look forward to. But you've got them. Now, there's a number of things you can change on the camera to make it better, but why bother doing that right now? So let's just keep it the simple way. You see what you can get with the simple settings. You make it more complicated as you feel more comfortable with the camera and you feel more comfortable being out with everybody around you. When you get to a point where you will just take the camera out and take a picture of the stupidest thing, even if people are walking past you, and not care. When you get to this condition, then you're good to go. But right at the beginning, some people can be really very stressed about this. There is other words you could use, but very stressed about physically taking out a camera and taking pictures. You've got this thought in your mind that it's not going to go right, which doesn't often say it will, but there's ways around it. You need, technically, for taking pictures, to be a problem solver. If you have a problem, how do I solve it and how do I change it? Now, we'll look at that sometime in the future as well. But right now, which position are you in? Have you just got the camera and don't know what to do with it? Practice at home. Get used to the camera and its weight and you'll be fine. The next, find a spot, not too far. You don't really want to travel miles and miles just to find out whatever pictures you're taking aren't all that good, or have all turned out blurred, or you've done something that you shouldn't have done and they look terrible. But who cares? But what you don't want to do is spend money doing it. You need to make sure that everything stays in the cheapest manner there is. So doing things and taking pictures close to home is a good starting point and should be where you start. There's no point going on a £3,000 holiday with a camera that you don't understand when you don't feel comfortable with it to take pictures. You want to feel comfortable that you will just take the camera out, whack it on a setting, take the picture, and I think that would be good. And you feel it inside that you feel good about what pictures you take. So, we'll leave it there. The 3 stages of becoming a photographer. It's for you to make the next move and get out there, practice and enjoy taking photos, and it doesn't matter what it is of. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.